Okay, so I'm just gonna do it live. Just F it. We're doing it live right now. I just received this really interesting influx of information. I just kind of started pulling up some tabs. I have some stuff to share with you all, and I know that we're still dealing with this full moon right now. So, I feel like much of June and building up, and even through a lot of this eclipse season itself, but with it being kind of concluded by this current full moon eclipse in Capricorn, we've been burning off a lot of things, burning off a lot of old stuff, old paradigm that exists and is rooted within us, right? And so the information that kind of came to me just now was the concept of, over the next, I want to say, 3 weeks, right? As we're approaching the dog days of summer, and Sirius becomes visible in the night sky, that we will be met with elements from parallel timelines, elements from possible timelines that we will be interacting with and be confronted with now that we've burned off and been whittled down to our essential self. And this is a means of training and really solidifying and augmenting that essential self through this trial period. And through this trial period, the ways in which we interact with this interesting wobble or challenge, this exchange that's happening between these different possible timelines and realities, these little pieces of them, because it's almost just like we're at this place where all of our timelines are kind of like touching. Like, there's this point and it's like we're the sphere, we're this dot, right? And like all of these timelines are kind of like bent and tangent to where we are currently in the present moment through these next 3 weeks. And so the way in which we interact with them might cause us to completely alter our trajectory or refine the one that we're currently on. And so it's going to be important as we come across these challenges, these opportunities, to really take in and be cognizant of the amount of emotional intelligence that we bring into a situation, and really understanding the pod of possibilities that we're engaging with as they arise. Because I feel like very interesting and strange things are happening, but are being presented to us through seemingly mundane occurrences. And so one reason that we've been whittled down to like our essential authentic self, that we've burned off certain beliefs, thought patterns, traumas, so to speak, that really kind of burning off a lot of the Piscean energy and belief systems and traditions, as we're no longer like gatekeeping ourselves from all of the possibilities that could exist, and we're seeing truth for what it is, from a much more engaging and cosmic and let's see, what's another word I want to use? But from a much larger perspective, a way more divine vibrational perspective, instead of being within a structure that's like a recipe, and it's like very precise measurement. It's more of this, we're going with it, and we're being guided through that divine manner, that hard point. But anyways, so through this time, we're going to be engaging with different timelines. They're going to be popping up through different opportunities, different interactions. And they may consist of people from the past. They may consist of new characters, you know, new people kind of appearing in your life, and certain interesting personal patterns, themes, and challenges being reflected through these interactions, almost testing you to show up, to continue to show up differently, to continue to kind of blast through and disintegrate any like remnants of that Piscean self that still exists, and really embodying and hopping into your, you know, Aquarian nature. And you'll be doing so through these challenges and opportunities while simultaneously defining what your trajectory is going to be, which I feel like will end up being solidified by sometime toward the end of August, September, when the dog days of summer are kind of ended. And what I've looked up, which I find is very interesting, so the Sirius constellation is highly associated with Anubis and with the underworld, right? And that's kind of where we are now. And like the Egyptians really revered that realm, because that's where that's where a lot of alchemy, personal alchemy, takes place. And a lot of understanding of the self, as well as what our soul carries. So with that being said, the dog days of summer were a very important time for the Egyptians, from what I'm seeing here, which is very interesting. And it's something that my guides have been really trying to transmit to me over time. And I'm just like, I'm busy. No, I have like 5 books that I'm trying to juggle. Like, let's just, you know, like, let's just hold on. So, but today it's like, no, you just got to do it. And that's why we're doing it live, right? So that I can't run away from it. So interestingly enough, let's see, there's some stuff that I wanted to share. So Sirius is a very important star for the Egyptians. It's called the dog star, but dog backwards is God. And it's funny because in this earthly realm, I personally feel like a lot of what we do is backwards. And if we choose to heal and to understand ourselves, we have to work backwards and go back to our origin, return to source, become a resource. It's our journey back to source, journey back to the center. So, and one of the things that the Egyptians associated with the rising of Sirius was the Nile would flood, which to me, I mean, it could symbolize a lot of different things, you know, because water holds memory. Water is a really old element. Water is present when certain elements aren't, like, you know, air. Like you think of space, like some of these planets have ice, you know, but they may not necessarily have an atmosphere, as well as fire. Fire may not be existent, but water is. And so there's something very special about water. And so when certain events happen that are based with, that are connected to any body of water, it's almost just like a signal of, you know, what's going on in the unconscious, what's going on, what type of knowledge is flooding in right now. There's some type of gateway or portal that's being opened in which we are able to access some type of occult or hidden knowledge that we typically wouldn't be privy to, right? At least that's my take on it. So with this being said, the Egyptians, there'd be, because when Sirius is visible in the sky, begins to be visible in the sky, is the dog days of summer. And apparently up to 35 days before and 35 days after our sun conjuncts the star Sirius, close to July 4th, and it is hidden by a sun's glare. Ancient Egyptians refused to bury their dead during the 70 days Sirius was hidden from view, because it was believed that Sirius was the doorway to the afterlife, and the doorway was thought to be closed during this yearly period. So this, again, this is like a trial period in which, you know, we're kind of being tested, like nothing, there's no place to go. We're just kind of in this experimental sphere of, okay, well, you're going to choose what you're going to do. There's like, you know, there's no way in, no way out. It's like what you do now is very determined by how you work through and interact with this space, which I find interesting. And dog Sirius is one of the watchmen of the heavens, fixed in one place at the bridge of the Milky Way, keeping guard over the abyss into incarnation. Its namesake, the dog star, is a symbol of power, will, and steadfastness of purpose, exemplifying the initiate who has succeeded in bridging the lower and higher consciousness. So this is kind of our initiation, folks, our initiation into whichever timeline we want to kind of hop into, whatever type of lifetime progression we want to explore in this Aquarian age, now that we're, finally getting to a point of truly releasing a lot of those old structures and traditions that were more Piscean and like toxic, to what this new paradigm is and what we are becoming. So anyways, I thought that was very interesting. I wanted to share that. So during this time, also the Egyptians based their calendar off of the Sirius constellation, the dog star. So I wanted to share that with you. So yeah, I feel like right now we're in this space where we're having to adapt, and we're having to move through things in such a way to where we shouldn't, it's not really about how do I want to phrase this? It's not really about what you expect, because we've learned that expectation doesn't necessarily get us anywhere, right? And as long as we can kind of anticipate what is being required of us, we can then be met with challenge and opportunity in kind of a fair exchange, in a fair form. And so this is kind of us, this is the test. I want to say this is the test. And I feel like whatever's happening with you between now and, again, the end of August or September is really you defining what your life is going to be moving forward. And I think that this is a lot larger than any other time we've had this kind of chance to reorient ourselves, because we're really setting ourselves up, positioning ourselves for if we do choose to reincarnate and show back up in this realm again, lining ourselves up for the remainder of this age. We're really choosing our trajectory that our soul, that our spirit will be taking for the duration of the Aquarian age. And so I know it's lots of pressure, big time pressure on this one. And so with that, one thing that I would like to share is, because one word that's been coming up a good bit, here we go with the words again, right? I'm not sorry. So let's talk about words for a second. Because the word compassion, it is necessary. It is necessary right now to truly understand that word and that concept, because, you know what? Let's pull up the definition real quick. I think I have it. Yeah. Compassion. This is what I pulled up on Google, right? Sympathetic pity and concern for the sufferings and misfortunes of others. I don't like that definition. I feel that it continues to feed into concepts of hierarchy and victimhood. Compassion, anything that is associated with our spiritual practice, should have nothing to do with victimhood, should have nothing to do, like, it doesn't, it like our spiritual paths have heart. And with that, there's no victimhood. There's no victimization of self or others, because then you're still feeding into a structure of hierarchy. You're still feeding into something, a system that is linear, right? And we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Especially clearly we're being met with timelines that have curve to them, that have angles, angles, perspective, that have a sense of position and relation to one another, in which they're able to interact and be alive, to have cosmic conversation through, different non-linear pathways. And so during this time, that's kind of what we're being asked to do. And so going back to this concept of compassion, let's work through this. Let's rework this. So looked up, as the word compassion is calm, passion, right? So we looked up calm. I looked up calm. We looked up calm. My guides. So I'll go with the we, or the royal we. There we go, the royal we. Okay, so calm. Usually meaning together. Together with, in combination, beside, near, by, with, right? Together in association. And so with that understanding, we then look up the word passion. Okay. Oh gosh, I don't know if I like those words. Here, let's see. See, I don't like that. The definitions for passion align with suffer. Suffering, to suffer, to be acted on. And let's consider the definition of suffering. I feel like I'm going to go down a whole rabbit hole right now, because we experience the word suffering as a very negative thing. And I know that in Buddhism, suffering is optional. Within it, there's a choice. And some of the old ways of thinking is that suffering is not a choice. It's something that we're met with. It's a pain that we're met with. It's an aching. But in our spiritual journey, that suffering, that aching, that pain is ultimately a yearning, a desire to become something, become some essence, right? Because birth itself, that experience, there's a bit of suffering, there's a bit of pain, there's this, rupturing that happens to create a space, to create an opening for something to come through, a portal. And right now we're in, I guess in a way, we're in this space of suffering. But it's really to experience or be subjected to something. Because we can suffer happiness, because happiness ultimately, if we end up chasing it, creates some type of pain or some type of suffering, because then we're comparing something. Then we're trying to, make something come together in such a way that it, recreates that sense of happiness or joy, that feeling. But I digress. So, compassion. But really what it comes down to is, what are we willing to go through together? What are we willing to intersect on? And by saying intersect, it's like we become more intimate with one another. We see into each other with a lot more clarity, and we're willing to reconcile our differences, because there's those important points of intersection, those important points of compassion. It's like, I stand alongside you and we suffer this and we're going to move through it. It's bringing us together through the things that through the energies and the forces and the situations that we are passionate about, or that we meet with passion. And I believe that that's why some of the anger has been coming up a lot for us lately. It's not just that divine feminine rising, it's really a means for us to see those who are in our environment and around us, what are they passionate about? And that way we can meet and intersect in a place of compassion. So we can then suffer through these obstacles, these challenges, these opportunities, and collectively choose the trajectory that we'll be taking for this Aquarian age. So it's happening on an individual level, and it's happening on a collective level. And so that's why I feel like there's a lot of this, dissonance. There's a lot of conflict, a lot of conversations going on, or debates, what have you. But I like to just conversations that are being had in order for us to be informed through varied perspectives and experiences, because they all account for something. And they're really kind of ways in which we can choose, okay, this is what I'm going to work toward. This is what I'm magnetizing, and so this is ultimately what I'm passionate about. This is ultimately where I'll find my allies and colleagues in order to create and craft something for the future, in order to create and form this offering for the next generation to come. And so it's big work that we're doing right now. It's really big work that we're doing right now. And we're doing this in order for people to have a broader range of suffering that they can choose from, a broader range of experience that they can choose to subject themselves to without judgment. Because again, we're moving into a place that is post-morality. It's more so like, what are you choosing to experience? I absolutely honor that. Do you recognize that there are other options available? And if so, would you like to explore those with me? Because we don't have to be subject to just one thing. And again, in the Piscean age, with that rigidity, with that structure, with that toxic masculinity, tradition, gatekeeping, all of that kept us rigid in our thinking, in our opinions, in our information, in our perspective, in our options, in our movement. And that's what ultimately leads us to higher dimensions, is having a broader field of experience to choose from, different points of possibility to access. And so this window coming up is that beautiful access point to a higher dimension, because we are going to have a lot of choices, a lot of options, a lot of opportunities that will take us in a varied range of spaces, and more spaces than perhaps we've been privy to or have been able to select throughout previous periods, and even just in the past previous months, right? So just having this awareness, knowing that you have more to choose from the cosmic buffet in this time. What are you going to do with that? What type of energy are you anchoring in? Are you paying attention? And are you responding to things in a way that is in service to your essence, to your resourcefulness, to that, essence of source that you are moving back to in order to be embraced by? So what are you embracing in order to be embraced? So yeah, I think that's all that I have to share with you. I also drank a lot of coffee, and I need to take a potty break. But if you have any questions or want to talk about this, let's do it. I am very interested to see how the next few weeks pan out. I'm very interested to see how collectively we navigate this time frame. I think it's going to be really, really interesting because I'm starting to see, you know, different solutions come about, you know, different types of narratives presenting themselves. And it's just very exciting. It's very exciting. Just a new way of looking at and experiencing this realm, and it's absolutely beautiful. And if we can, you know, move through this work with enough awareness and in such a way of honoring the personal and collective narratives that, you know, are taking place, whether or not we choose to participate in them, you know, the less karma we end up carrying into this next age. And that's really doing our future selves and, you know, our successors it's really doing them a service. The highest service is really working through these portals and in such a way. So just consider what you're cultivating, and consider all that you've been able to drop and to burn away and burn through over these past couple of months. And, you know, what narratives are popping up, what you know, what incessant signs and frequencies are coming in for you, and explore them. Have fun, do some research, like get curious, play through it. Yeah, because, you know, this is a matter of just really putting all that we know and how connected we are to our heart, really putting that in action in order to really experience that and to simultaneously create an experience that meets that in such an equitable amount that you're just really allowing yourself to create a destiny here, and to reject the old age destiny that you've perhaps taken on and had to accept within the former age. So anyways, but yeah, let me know what you think. I really enjoyed sharing this message with you all. I think I'm gonna spend some more time researching the dog star. I know I've connected with beings from this place for a few times here and there, but as far as actually getting a better sense of, you know, ancient civilizations and their relationships to this star and to this constellation, yeah, so hopefully if I come across anything interesting, I'll be sure to share it with you all as a follow-up, or we can have some one-off conversations about it. So if you know anything, please share it. I'm really curious. I'm always learning alongside you all. But yeah, anyways, have a wonderful Sunday, and I'll be back to share more when the time is right. Bye for now.